Hello, and thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Unmedicated and Educated with Keita Rose. I'm Keita Rose, and here we deep dive, dissect, and sometimes diagnose, because it seems everyone, including myself, I am not excluded, has lost their damn minds. If you are new here, thank you so much for giving me a try. If you're an OG, then you already know what the fuck is going on. Like, share, subscribe, talk shit in the comments. Tell me how you really feel. Okay, today, y'all, I am with Gianni, the single mom attorney. As soon as she popped up on my TikTok, I was like, yes, we're going to talk to her. And yeah, so just introduce yourself and, let us know who you are.
Hi, well, I'm Gianni Avalos. I'm an attorney. We take cases in the Dallas-Fort Worth and Houston area. We do family law, and we sue baby daddies for a living.
We sue baby daddies for a living. Facts. So what made you want to practice family law? Like, are you a first-generation lawyer?
I am a first-generation attorney. And prior to law school, I was working as a paralegal, and I realized as a paralegal, I had basically hit the glass ceiling of, my career path, and so I felt like law school was the next thing, and I'm so glad I went.
I'm so glad you went too. What made you want to brand yourself as single mom attorney? Are you a single mom?
I am a single mom.
Okay.
Yeah, I am, and it's funny because whenever I was in law school, I was working at a personal injury firm, but my heart was still in family law because that's what I did before law school.
Yeah.
And anyways, my last year of law school, I got pregnant. I was a single mom. I moved back in with my parents, and I realized now I have to study for the bar exam pregnant and with a newborn eventually, right? Because my baby was born, I think it was a week or two after my final exams or something. Yeah.
See,
it was crazy.
When you said that, it triggered me. And let me tell you, because I got a divorce right after I was going to school too. So I moved back in with my parents for 6 months to a year to stack up money and just get it together, because I'm we had a house, we had a family, we were married, and then now I'm not, and let me just figure out how that's gonna go. So
it's so crazy.
God.
Yeah, I mean, it's my first kid, my only kid, and I was I knew nothing about being a mom.
Same.
And then I only knew being a student. That's the only life I ever knew. And so even when I had my baby, I was okay, I'm a mom, but in my mind I was just I've got to pass this bar exam. I financially cannot afford to fail this exam, the first time. And so whenever I passed, thank God, the first try, I posted my story on TikTok, and it just went viral. And I realized at that time, I was okay, I've built this community of single moms. What do I do with this? And at that time, I think I was just very burnt out. I was I don't want anything to do with family law, but everybody kept hitting me up for divorce, child support, custody. And I was well, okay.
You're getting an influx of clients.
Yeah, exactly. And so in my mind, I was let me go ahead and start applying to other law firms. I was not in the mental state or position to start my own firm, just because I was living at my parents'.
And it's ridiculously hard work.
Yeah.
Starting my own business almost killed me, and you're talking about law, representing people. Who's gonna represent me when I have a nervous breakdown?
And I was my bar card came in the day before. I didn't know anything about running a law firm.
Yeah.
I was but I had this community of I mean, you could call them followers, but to me, I was they were supporters. I would go on live on TikTok, and I would just answer basic family law questions for them. And then they would be can we pay you to actually do this case? So finally I was okay, let me start monetizing off of this platform.
Of course.
And it just blew up from there.
It just blew up from there.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's a couple of things that you had posted.
Yeah.
And I was oh wait, I have got to ask you to expand on it.
Okay.
Because I seen one post where you said that moms actually want a 50-50 relationship, a 50-50 co-parent relationship.
Yeah.
And some would even prefer that over the child support money or the money.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because there's only so much that I can say within a 60-second video.
Yeah, it was really short. I said, I gotta talk to her.
No, for sure. And I mean, it's a lot of, half of my day every day goes to just consulting with single moms.
Yeah.
And I hear the same theme over and over and over again. I just want it to be fair.
Yes.
So to them, it's the child support money is helpful, but if you think about a true 50-50 co-parenting relationship where the other side is putting in 50% of the time with the child, then it makes things fair. Now, the question and the issue becomes, to them, what is considered a necessity to the child? And that's why in Texas, we don't have the presumption that 50-50 is in the best interest of the child. We have a primary parent, we have a non-custodial, because they understand Texas still recognizes that parents that are not together are going to still have a lot more disagreements.
Yes,
and
they are.
They're gonna, and we see it all the time with extracurricular activities, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine a situation where you have a co-parent parent that understands that everything that you believe that your child needs as a mom, he also believes or she also believes that that is what the child needs.
Perfect.
Baseball, cheerleading, whatever. This is what the kid needs. Can you go 50-50 on the uniforms? Can you go 50-50 on the enrollment fees? But if the other parent is saying, no, the child doesn't need that, now it just feels like you're putting in a little bit more work and it's no longer 50-50.
That's exactly how it is. I only, those type of stories where both the parents agree, it comes a dime a dozen. Exactly. It just seems like, especially with the primary parent, of course, not all the time, and I know you know that because you work with couples all the time and single moms, but the primary parents always focused on what is in the best interest of my child. I know for me, you're going to be in sports. You're going to be in private school. You're going to be like, we're going to make sure that I can set you up to thrive. Whereas I've had issues with my child's father saying like, I mean, that's not really a necessity actually. And if it's $400 or $500 more, then you're just asking me for money. You're just trying to drain me. And it's like, no, I just need a little help. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's just, I hear it all the time from single moms that they're like, if he would just put in 50% of the effort as a parent, and that's not always financial. That's sometimes just like, can you show up 50% of the time for your kid? They would feel like that's just heaven to them, you know? But in Texas, I'm like, it's just, we hear it a lot more often that the non-custodial parent is inconsistent. That's a very, very common term that I hear in a lot of consultations. So unfortunately, if you're inconsistent, you pay child support because that's what you can be consistent on and that's what we can enforce.
And I know that. And so is it 20% of the income?
That's the standard. I mean, if you have one kid with one mom, then, you know, you don't have any other children with any other moms, like, then that's 20% of your net income. Two children, it goes a little bit higher. If you have one child outside, then it goes a little bit lower. But yeah, 20% is standard.
I just always felt like I do understand what you mean by mothers being like, I wish it was fair. Because honestly, you can keep that little $10 a month, or that little 119 whatever. You can keep that money if you just pick them up from school. Like, help out with that.
Show up on time.
You know, take them to school 1 week. I'll take them to school the next week. Show up on time with extracurricular. Like, handle this, because 20% in 1 or 2 weekends out the month doesn't hardly seem like parenting.
It doesn't equate. And the sad part is that even when they do have time that's afforded to them in a court order, they're not ordered to spend time with the child. They just have a right to spend time with the child. So we as moms, like, when we sign up to be the primary parent, we sign up to be the default parent, you know? And a lot of the times they're like, okay, well, he's paying child support, but he's not picking up the kid on time. He's not doing this and this and that. And I'm like, he's not ordered to.
He doesn't have to.
He doesn't have to.
He's missing his weekends. He doesn't have to pick him up him or her up during Christmases and the holidays. And it just becomes like an inconvenience.
Right.
Why do you believe that single moms get so much slack? Like, this girl just posted the other day about how, like, she had to make herself a birthday cake because she was a single mom. It went viral, and she was crying, and so many men in the comments were like, you'd never make it as a man. You asked for this, like, just really disrespectful for no reason. Why do you think single moms get so much slack?
I think it's just lack of empathy, to be honest. I think that if they were to just even be in our shoes for one day, they would realize how hard it is. And I think it's because you do have a lot of single moms that sometimes make it look effortless. And that's one of the things that I've promised my followers, that no matter how big I become, I will still post myself. Like, a few months ago, I was like, no makeup, in a car, my nanny had just flaked on me, like, I had no childcare, I had consultations, and I'm like, this is what real life single mom.
I have to work to provide a life for my child, but I can't even do that because I need to now watch my child.
Exactly. So I just think it's like lack of empathy, lack of understanding. And then you always hear the saying that, well, you chose him, you chose him.
Wrong. Yeah,
choose better men. Well, how about you be a better man?
How about we don't have to rewind on that one. 1 second. Kyle, I'm gonna need you to zoom in. How about you be a better man instead of us having to choose better? How about you just be better?
Right. Because I mean, if my son ever was with a single mom and I'm like, oh, well, you chose him. No, that's accountability for my kid. Like, absolutely, be a better man. Step up.
And you know, me having a son, and I never asked. You have a son? You have a son. Me having a son, I am so intentional about how he will be raised. It's not like we get to choose different things for our kid. Our kids have their own personality, and they'll essentially be their own person. And we know that, and we want that. However, like, I think I would be heartbroken if my son grew up to be a man that, like, abandons his family or didn't pay his child support or just like an overall bum, especially when I am busting my ass. I know you're busting your ass. So like, we're doing the best we can to provide a happy, healthy, whole life. And do you ever feel like you not having a man in the household is holding your son back?
You know, there was like this study that was done that a lot of people in the comment section refer to that study where, you know, single moms are raising people that eventually go to become incarcerated or addicts or just not, I guess, successful contributing members of society, right? And it's actually, another study was done that a single mom that raises a child where there's basically like 2 incomes in a household, even though it's just one parent. Yeah. They grow up to still raise very productive members of society. So I don't think that me being a single mom is holding my son back, but I also fully recognize that there's a lot of things that, you know, I can teach my son, you know, values that a man, you know, needs to have, but it's never going to sound the same coming from a woman. It won't. So that's where I'm like, I think that still children need both parents, and it's taken a lot of me setting aside my pride to still have the dad involved to an extent. When he wants to come and see my kid, fine, by all means, come and see him. Same. But it's like, eventually he's going to grow up and recognize like who was actually there, who was there paying for everything for the kid. I literally tell that to everybody. I'm like, so many women ask me like, what do I do if he's not doing this? And you know, it's not fair and different things like that. And I'm like, hey, listen, you don't got to talk shit. You don't got to talk shit to anybody, or you don't have to tell your child that your baby daddy or your dad's really this and that, because when the child grows up, and we all grow up and see the faults of our parents, then we'll see that, like you said, who is there to support you? Who is there to love you? And you're right. Like, it's not gonna sound the same coming from a woman like it would a man. But when they try to say that single mothers breed criminals and addicts, I would just like to note that we never talk about the toxic, disgusting 2-parent households. Right. The people that decide to stay together just for the sake of the kid that shouldn't have even met. Yeah. Right? And so there was a study that I saw about how thriving children are happy and successful due to the happiness of the mother. Happiness of the mother. The happiness of the mother. Not whether or not the mother has a partner, but just whether or not you're happy. So I made it like I was very intentional about being like, my mental health needs to be together. I will go to Target too, no makeup on, cry in the damn car. But after that, I'm gonna get it together. I'm a boss up, because he needs to see somebody happy, somebody that's working, that's not lazy. You know what I mean? And so I do. It triggers the hell out of me when I hear like, a 2-parent household is the only household that can raise good kids. It's like, no, that's not true. Yeah. And also, why does it fall on the single mom? Like, they're saying that single moms breed these people, but at the same time, why is it not absent father households? Why? I mean, we're gonna do another Zoom. I mean, when you drop it, I mean, girl, you be dropping them gems. Because why? Why do we call it single motherhood? Why do we call it a single mom household instead of an absent father? Where are the fathers? We're putting in the work. Yeah. I mean, if anything, like, we're working to make sure that these children are not on the streets, that they're productive members of society and whatnot. Absolutely. It's the absent father that's not there contributing what he needs to make sure that these children grow up with the values that they go on to learn from the father. Yeah. So I want to talk about single fatherhood for a little bit, because you see, and I seen them in your comments, girl, but you see so many men, well, I try to be a father, if she won't let me, and here's the thing, I do understand, and I actually want to ask you, do judges favor the mothers over the fathers? I think that we are way past that at this point in society, at this point in time. I mean, I think that there was once a point maybe in the courts where they did favor moms. But I think it's easier to represent a dad in court because you're representing the underdog. Like, they already go in with the, hey, I want to be there for my kid, like that disadvantage. Yeah. And we do represent the dads that are really trying to make an effort to be in their kid's life, and not just for the fact of getting out of paying child support, but because they actually want to be there for them. And I think it's a lot easier because it's just kind of like I said, that we're representing the underdog. Well, I'm glad you said that, because a lot of the times when we hear about, I tried to fight for him, I'm like, did you go to court and did you obtain an attorney and go to court and fight, or was you just texting and y'all got into it and now you're just letting the kid stay with the mom? That's what I'll never understand, because in the comments they'll be like, oh, well, she won't let me see my kid, and I'm like, do you have a court order? Yes. So it's like, moms, we can't go and say, oh, you're not seeing your kid, let me go enforce that, let me go file an enforcement. No, dads, if mom's withholding the kid, they can go and file an enforcement. So I'm like, you have the same access to attorneys, you have the same access to the court system, and it's as easy as showing, like, I showed up, she didn't give me my kid, enforcement.
Now, is it enforcement like extremely expensive, or like is there a reason why men might feel like that is just too much of a step?
I find that like whenever an enforcement is filed against a mom, and if we're representing the mom or putting on a defense, a lot of the times they have the screenshots showing like, yeah, by all means, come pick up your kid, and they just don't do it. So I'm like, why are you filing an enforcement for somebody that's willingly giving you the time and the energy? Like, hey, yeah, like let's meet up. Like, let's, you know. But I mean, yes, you do get those occasions where the mom is just like, no, I'm. They think that
like, let's be fair here. I'm not going to act like there aren't situations where the relationship didn't work out, and now you don't want your child, you don't want him to have anything to do with your child. I've seen situations like that, but I've also seen a lot of men say that they're fighting for their kid, yet they can't tell you what lawyer they got. They can't tell you what courtroom they showed up in, and it's like, you're not really fighting. Right.
And a lot of the times it'll be them saying like, oh, well, she won't let me see my kid, but then they want to go see the child outside of their court ordered time, which is great sometimes if you want to deviate a little bit. But otherwise, if you're just trying to like show up and pop up whenever you want, like there's a court order for a reason. Like those are the rules that you defer to when there's a disagreement. Once again, because the courts understand that parents that cannot stay together for a child, or they're not together for whatever reason, they're going to disagree on basic things like, where are we showing up to exchange this kid? How long are you going to keep the kid for? Who's going to drop off the kid at school? X, Y, and Z, right?
So let's say I'm driving up to meet my baby daddy, and he's supposed to be taking care of my child Friday, and I'm supposed to pick him up Sunday. But on Sunday, when I go to meet him, he doesn't show up. Is that kidnapping?
Not technically. I mean, there's going to be a lot of comments. I know that you saw that video where I'm like, you can't kidnap your own kid. Now, obviously, like,
put it on there. I said, girl, yes, you can. What you mean? Come on, like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that if you go, I mean, they're not going to be raising the Amber Alerts for you. They're going to say, you have a court order, like, go take it before the court now. If he's not on the birth certificate, if, you know, he's just been withholding for a long time, there's different situations where, like, yeah, maybe they will say, there's an Amber Alert out and he's probably with the other parent, or, you know, but we don't understand the circumstances behind what court order, if any, or if paternity's been adjudicated, or, you know, so it's just different circumstances. Yeah.
So if I have a child's father who's signed away his rights, he doesn't want anything to do with my child, does he still have to pay child support?
So it depends what you define as signing away your rights. If it's a full-on termination, then no. But if we're talking about a situation where he's like, yeah, mom, you can have all of the exclusive rights to the kid, that doesn't mean that he's no longer the legal father to the child, but a lot of people call that signing away your rights. I have sole custody, whatever you want to call it. He still has certain rights to the kid. And he can still go and modify and, you know, maybe even get more rights eventually at a later time, whatever. There's different situations. But yes, if you have sole custody, then the non-custodial parent is still subject to paying child support. If it's a full-on termination, no longer the legal father, no longer the legal parent, then no more child support obligation.
I seen on one of your videos where you're talking about an app, and I know that is smart, like the type of app where you guys are communicating to where you can show the judge your communication instead of just text messages, because you did mention you know, naming your baby daddy something crazy in the phone, and I had piece of shit for a long time, but I'm grown now and I've healed.
She's come a long way.
I have come so far, and he'd appreciate that too. So why do you encourage women or anybody to download these apps?
I think just for the purposes of like preparing an exhibit, it's a lot easier. It's time stamped. It's a lot easier to get in as an exhibit, as opposed to, hey, you have a screenshot of a text message on an iPhone and who knows what the name is under. And then I think that there's also something like psychological behind communicating through a co-parenting app. I think it just, now we still see a lot of like nasty messages in co-parenting apps.
But I get what you, I think I do see what you're saying though, because we know this ain't no text messages like how when we broke up or how when I found out you cheated and this is like we are moving to another platform. This is only supposed to be court ordered, and it's only supposed to be in communication about our child. That's it.
It's funny. I had a case one time where it was like he would communicate everything like lovely and nice in the co-parenting app, but then all the nasty messages were in the I was like, you know that the text messages could still be admitted.
I mean, it's still to be admitted in court. Like when you call me a bitch and said you wasn't gonna raise this baby, like I'm still gonna post that.
It's still just gonna be a different way of admitting it into court, or offering it. But
golly. Okay, so I'm so glad that I get to talk to a single mom attorney, because I see a lot where millionaires, right? They were married, the guy's a millionaire, and they break up, and the mom is like, I want $20K a month.
Yeah.
And so many comments are like, why do you need that? Why do you need $20K, $30K to, and I know that it's 20% of the father's income, but do you think that that's excessive?
I mean, Texas actually caps the child support, so they're only going to consider the first like $9,200-ish of the non-custodial parents' net income.
Girl, don't say that. You're going to have everybody having babies in Texas and we can't get this money. No, go.
There's like I think it's Elon Musk that right now he's fighting for that. Like he's fighting for his child support to be calculated in Texas because of that. Like he's
one of the richest men in the world.
Billionaire, and he's like, I'm going to pay you $1,800 a month. Yeah, and it's just that way. I mean, because Texas recognizes, or they say that a child doesn't require more than $1,800. That's max guidelines for like one kid, right?
Which is crazy because I do understand that some women, especially the women who have a baby to get a bag, I do understand that some things can be excessive. But if I'm with a millionaire, if I'm with a celebrity, I will need to put my kid in private school. I will need to have security. I will need to no, your kid doesn't need like Dior slippers.
Well, and an argument can be made for over guideline child support in those kinds of situations. And if I was representing somebody that had a baby with a very A-list, even B-list celebrity, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, now we need security, now we need private schools. Now you can still make an argument for that. Now, how much is a judge going to give you? Now you're leaving it at leaving it to the discretion of the judge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because it ain't excessive.
There's a little wiggle room, but it's, presumption, it's just, the default rule is 20% and it's capped now. Can you argue for more? There's still a way.
But it really is at the discretion of the judge.
Yeah,
and then they get to decide what you need. Was there ever like a case where you just felt like it was excessive, like you're getting way too much, or absolutely not?
I mean, just because you see more of the child support being capped in a lot of situations, but I don't think that, a lot of the times they're really happy to get $1,800 a month. Now there are situations where I consulted with somebody yesterday. Guy lives in Miami. He makes very good money. He's not a well-known celebrity or anything like that, but he makes good enough money to where he could afford to give a child a different lifestyle, right? And I had to be the bearer of bad news and say like that, this is what the default rule is. Can we argue for more? Possibly, but you're leaving it at the discretion of the judge. That means that we're gonna have to go through a trial. And then there's always the factor of, does mom even have the attorney's fees to fight for that?
Probably not.
Right, so.
Probably not. So what does sue your baby daddy mean? You mentioned she got some, what is it, hoodies or shirts? Oh, I need it. Can I get the phone case? Can I get the hoodie? Like, what does it mean?
I just posted it one day as like a caption on a photo because, whenever you serve somebody with child support papers, I've only had one person ever call me and they're like, I want to sue him for like emotional damage. Like, I'm not talking about child. And I'm like, that's not what sue your baby daddy means. Okay. Like, sue your baby daddy is like, okay, anytime that you serve a non-custodial parent with child support papers, custody, whatever, it says you've been served, like this is a lawsuit, right? So sue your baby daddy. That's what it is.
So you do encourage women, because again, there's so much discourse around this. That's why I love that I'm talking to you, because you'll hear people be like, I can do this all by my own. I don't need his money, and you shouldn't be asking. And wait, child support is a broke bitch hustle. You should just get your own money. What do you feel about that? Like, you encourage people to go ahead and sue for that child support.
I do, but I'm actually one of the few attorneys that, just because you're not together with the non-custodial parent it's not like an automatic rule, like now you have to go to court, now you have to sue them. I actually consult with some women, and even if it means that I'm turning away business, I find that they're actually getting more not suing them. And I know that if they go to court, they might get less. It's the situations where I'm like, okay, now you're having to beg for the money that he's not court ordered to pay. Sue your baby daddy.
Sue your baby daddy. Yeah. I can see that in a situation where, especially where like the man does not want to be, he doesn't want the courts in his pockets. Right. He doesn't want them people in his business. And so that's why he's like, well, I'll give you what you need, but once you take it there, whatever they give you. I know of a lady that was getting like $700 a month, but decided that she was going to get a little bit more. Decided to put him on child support, and it knocked it down to $180.
And then the question becomes like, how do they get paid? Are they on a payroll check? Do they get a payroll check? If that's the case, and income withholding order, let's get it automatically taken out. Is he a 1099? Does he own his own business? Well, now he has the obligation to pay the OAG's office directly. Is he going to do that? Maybe not. And if he doesn't, what does that mean? You have to hire an attorney again for an enforcement.
So ladies, if you know your baby daddy's making money under the table, okay, maybe drug dealing and killing and stealing, let's think about it before we put them courts in his life, because you might not get anything. Yikes. So do you ever run into cases where the baby daddy's girlfriend is more involved? Yo, why does this?
Oh my
so I
gosh.
get it, right? Like you're in a new relationship with a man.
Yeah.
You can only talk to him. It's not like you're gonna talk to his exes.
Right.
So he's telling you that the baby mama is crazy. She's not letting him see the child, and she takes it upon herself to get extremely involved.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? And why do you think that happens where new girlfriends feel like they can handle the co-parenting situation better than the parents?
Seriously, I just think it's interesting whenever they're the ones that book the consultation and they'll put it under their name.
So you're telling me that girlfriends have booked the consultation?
Yes, and they're like, oh, this is actually for my husband, or this is actually for my boyfriend. I'm like,
wait,
so
what?
I'm like, he's gonna have to pay for all of this information to be. I'm not like,
I can't give that to you.
Yeah, no, it's very, very weird. I'm like, if he wanted to, he would, right? Like if he wanted to, he would have booked the consultation himself. He would have, and that's just the way that works. But we see it actually a little bit too often.
I just find it so funny because it's like, and then some of those situations, they'll be the girlfriends that, or the wives that have kids. And it's like, hey, baby girl, he's not even taking care of the kid.
No.
You got to book the consultation for him to even be involved in the child's life.
Yeah.
But now you think that he's going to be a good father to your kid. And that's wild.
Yeah. And it's funny because like, we'll do the consultation, whatever. But then afterwards, whenever I'm like, okay, now it's like, he signed a contract. He's our client. We're only talking to him, right? He's kind of like, yeah, that's fine. Like, I'll settle for that. She's a good mom. And I'm like, well, that's not what the theme of this case was. Whenever we first,
when we first started, that's not what.
It's very weird.
You were singing a different tune,
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness. Why would some men? Why do you feel like some men would rather go to jail than to pay? I've been in relationships with men who have owed thousands, have the money, can absolutely pay to not have this problem, and decide not to pay child support.
It's an ego thing. It's a pride thing. It's I'd rather sit it out in jail than pay her kind of thing. I mean, we've seen cases where because if you get in a car accident and they can put a child support lien on your settlement, they would rather not get their portion of the settlement than to have baby mama get her portion of that
Wait, so if you get into a car accident and you get a settlement because you were physically injured, like body turned, they can put a lien on that.
Yeah.
Because you didn't pay child support.
Yeah, the OAG's office can put a lien on that settlement. They can intercept your tax refunds. Like OAG's office we can put
passport
bank lien,
too, right? They can't get a passport.
Bank account liens. Like, I mean,
it's basically not paying your child support could ruin your life. But some men would rather ruin their life.
Yeah, or they would rather just like never own a bank account again, or they would just like
wild.
They put everything under the new girlfriend's name or their mom's name. Or I'm like, just pay your $200 a month.
Just pay your $15.99 a month. Like seriously, I just feel like I love that you said it's like an ego thing, because I do feel like it's like psychological. It's like I'm giving her the money. I'm giving this be the money and not my child.
Yeah.
And it's like, and even when they do give you the money, like the $200, they want to know and they want to dictate what you do with it.
Right. Well, I mean, there's been a lot of clients that come to us because they're like, okay, he gives me the money, but it's like I have to give him a receipt for everything, or he buys it himself. And it's like, that's fine, but it's also like, at what point does that become excessive? At what point does like, oh, I'm only going to buy the diapers, I'm only going to get this, or does he really need that? Does the
that's too much.
Now it's just too much. I'm like, just give mom the money. Like at the end of the day, it's really child support reimbursement, because we've already paid for it.
Thank you so much. When I hear people say, she used my child support for her nails, did she use your child support for her nails and the kid is neglected?
Right.
Or are all the bills paid, everything taken care of, school, uniform, food done, and now she's using that little money to get her nails done? She was going to use it anyway.
I mean, half the time, like whatever child support is ordered doesn't even cover half of child care.
It doesn't.
Like daycare costs these days is,
I think when my son was like 2, daycare I think was like $1,200 or something like that, like 13. Now it's like skyrocket $2-3 grand.
Yeah, I'm like, that's why you see a lot of couples that are still together. It's like, even if the mom has, once you start having like 2, 3, 4 kids, it's like somebody's got to stay home and watch those kids, because can you imagine like the childcare bill for that? I mean, if they're not already in school, like even if they are, it's just a whole thing. Yeah, it's so expensive.
Oh my God, it's such an ego thing. Like, nah, I know I got these $14 in my pocket, but just lock me up, bro.
Right, lock me up.
I do anything rather than give it to this bitch. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
A lot of this is more like on the mental health side, but a lot of people ask, how do you co-parent with like an abusive parent or a narcissistic parent. I know what, narcissism, you just kind of break up with that person and you try, but like it's like a psychological abuse. Like maybe this man abuses me. He's never hit my child. He doesn't put my child in danger, but I am physically afraid to do exchanges and stuff. What could they do? I
mean, there are certain provisions in a court order that we can include to protect mom, like meet at a public place of exchange, and police officers, stations, things like that. But also, at what point are the courts going to recognize that if you put your hands on your child's mom, how does that not make you a threat to the child?
Come on.
Like, and sure, that'll maybe grant mom some exclusive rights to the kid. They recognize that, mom should maybe get sole custody, sole managing conservatorship in a situation like that. But yet dad still gets all of this unsupervised access and mom still has to communicate with him. There are, in very extreme situations, like facilitators that can be the middleman in a co-parenting relationship. But,
are facilitators like court ordered?
Yeah, they could be court ordered.
So you could ask for that if it is extreme?
You can, but it's also just like kind of seldom because it costs money. Everything costs money, and sometimes you can put like a relative, but then I've seen situations where like the relative's like, I can't do this anymore. Like this
not
is like
every other Friday, like I'm not,
or even like being the middleman communicator.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of emotional strain that you're putting on one person.
It is.
So it's a lot, but I mean there are certain provisions that we can include. Sometimes moms even get a protective order against dad, and
I just think that that's such an unfortunate situation, right? It's like here I was in a relationship with somebody that I loved enough to have a child with, or an oopsie baby, right? Like maybe it wasn't, we didn't plan it, but this happened, and now I'm getting called names. I'm scared that he'll hit me. I'm scared that he'll do things to the child, like talk crap about me to the child, or maybe try to skew the child's perception of me, or just anything.
Or God forbid they put a geographic restriction on mom, and now she's like subject to live in
What's a geographic restriction?
So like public policy basically not requires, but it's like a default rule, common presumption that the primary parent is going to be subjected to a geographic restriction, meaning that she'll have to live within the county or a contiguous county from baby daddy.
Oh my God. So I gotta stay by him. And so I can't like go off and just like restart my life.
This is why like I tell moms all the time, like no matter how mad you are at your baby daddy, do not go and just apply for child support through the OAG's office without consulting with an attorney first, because a lot of them don't recognize, like when you file for child support, you're filing for a custody order, you're filing for those provisions as well. Like it's not just I'm gonna get child support out of him.
I'm gonna get some money.
Like there's situations where I'm like, you actually kind of already had sole custody. He's not even on the birth certificate, and now because you went and filed for, and they're like, oh, can I take it back? I'm like, not really, because now the state has an interest in your case. So it's really difficult.
So once you take somebody, let's say I'm mad and I make that decision and I go put my baby daddy on child support, but I decided, you know what, I'm getting less money, or maybe I'm not mad anymore. Can I take it back, put him back on, take it back, or...
I mean,
like, is there a limit?
Yeah, you can do like agreed modifications, which I'm like, what baby daddy's not going to agree to taking me off child support, right? Like $0 child support. But also at the same time, like if you want to modify because things didn't go your way in that OAG settlement conference, which ultimately lands you a court order, now the rule is that you have to wait 3 years to modify. There are exceptions, of course, but you don't just get a redo, because now when you go to modify, the only thing that's going to be considered relevant is what has happened since that most recent order. So a lot of the times we'll get people that they're like, oh, well, my attorney didn't bring this up, or I didn't know that this was actually going to get me a court order, and I actually have all this evidence that he was using drugs or doing these things, and I'm like, okay, well, now I can only really work with what has happened since the most recent court order, which was like a month ago. So what do we have?
What do we have?
Yeah. So I'm like, you have to really, really walk with caution when you file for child support with the OAG's office. If you're going to be pro se doing it alone, I'm like, invest in a consultation. I mean, go to a legal aid.
Because there are some consultations that are free, right? Like I know that there are some $150, $250, but there are some that are free. And so before you make such a permanent or such a big decision, try to talk to somebody first, because you're absolutely right. I didn't think about that when my situation happened. I was married, so we had to handle all that visitation, who would do this, who would pay the dentist bill and everything within the courts. But if it's not, and you had a baby and you weren't married, that kind of just goes up into the air, and you have to dictate that.
A one night stand, how much do you really know this person? Like,
Yikes.
this is, so it's a lot.
How easy is it for somebody to get full custody? Like, let's say I did have a one night stand. Let's say I don't know him, but when I found out who he was, he's a drug addict. Maybe his family's drug addicts. Maybe I can't prove it, but I know that this is something I do not want my child around. How easy is that, or hard?
Your testimonial evidence is only going to hold so much weight in court. Additionally, I mean, even if it is testimonial evidence, meaning like what you said, I know from whatever source, like that he's selling drugs or whatever. How much of that is hearsay? How did you obtain that information? Ooh. So now we're looking at, is the evidence even admissible, or is this going to be a case where it's a he said versus she said, and they lie all the time on the stand.
Absolutely.
So it's and Texas doesn't even really recognize the term full custody. We call it sole managing conservatorship. So at that point, it's like, how much evidence do we really have? Now we have been very successful, like in getting a lot of moms sole managing conservatorship, but there's also a lot of consultations where I'm like, I'm not going to sell you a false dream. Like, this is what we need. If you don't have this,
like,
this is what we need.
Ring camera of him go ahead and whipping that work. Like
something. And Texas is a one-party consent state. So like, if moms want to record a phone conversation or an in-person conversation, or this is what happened, you don't have to necessarily
ask his permission.
No, like, I'm recording. You don't have to say that. I just record it. Like,
okay. Good, because that show would be like, I'm recording you.
And that's the difference maker. Like, we have a lot of situations where there's been abuse, very severe abuse, and those videos, that footage is just the difference maker.
Because I think out of everything that we talked about, that has to be the scariest thing, knowing that you're going to be connected to your abuser for 18 years and maybe even more. Right? And so we are moving on into our segment, Trauma Dump, where I kind of talked to you about it. Like, was there ever a time in your life, or what experience did you have maybe feeling depression or hopelessness? I know you're an entrepreneur, you're a mommy, and so that's, you have to have like kind of like this boss persona, but that's probably not the reality all the time.
I've never been asked that, and I'm glad you asked me that, because as an attorney, we do have to put a front up that we are just these strong, very, very strong people. And that's true, but we're also human, right? I think for me, it's like just the time that's robbed from my son. And that's like, I love helping other families and everything, but at what point do I take away too much time to go help other children and take it away from my son? I was like with my baby daddy this past week, and I was like seeing him outside, like flying this kite with him, and it was just like beautiful. But I'm like, he is only contributing maybe like 7-8 days out of the year with him, and that, by all means, make it special. But I'm the default parent. I'm the one that's inside working, and I'm the one that doesn't get to go outside and fly the kite because I'm putting out fires with my law firm.
Absolutely.
So it's like, those are the situations where I'm like, okay, this is my reality. It's what I have to accept. I'm not going to sit and sulk in this, but I think that that's probably a really sad.
I just love that you said that, because I experienced that too. Like, my child's father's a truck driver, so he's always around the country. And so it's like, I had to realize, like, being an entrepreneur, always being out, my son recently was like, I need a little bit more attention. Like, he started like doing things that, show that he needs a little bit more attention. And I'm like, all right, so I'm not having to make sacrifices, but I would gladly do so. I would gladly make sacrifices to, maybe I'm not going to make this much, or maybe I'm not going to, put a lot of time into this production, because I need to be worried about him. I think that he's the most important thing out of this. And like, no child asked to be born. Like, no child, we did not ask to be here. We did not ask, for you to have Henny one night and get a little
we weren't thinking about that in that time.
So I think that that's just the unfortunate situation. And that's where the whole two-parent households come in, right? Like, there will be somebody there. But even if there was somebody there, your job is so demanding that usually I think that society has gotten used to the man being gone and the woman being like the nurturer and whatever. But we are the ones that are gone with demanding jobs, and so we can't be there all the time. And I just feel so guilty.
It's that guilt. It's really hard fulfilling every role that a child needs, knowing that you're never going to fully fulfill every single role, and sometimes it does mean like not making as much money, or cutting myself off at 3 consultations a day when I could easily do 7 or 8, because, or working into the night because I want to be with my son during the day. Like,
girl. Okay, let me just, from 5 to 7. I'm like, that's my time where I like to work, but like he gets out of school and I just have to really sacrifice that time. And so you're working until midnight because from 5 to 7 or from 6 to whatever, you couldn't work.
You couldn't. Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to feel like you're just always away. You don't want them to be the narrative of their childhood and what they remember of you, because they already have one parent that's away. Yeah. So they're not, That
is so true.
Right.
Oh my God. I'm glad that you said that. I feel like, I know y'all feel seen. Like we definitely feel seen, because it is, on one end, I'm giving you the life that you need, but on the other end, at what sacrifice, at what cost?
Yeah, it's really hurtful. Like whenever I consult with moms that when the kid is like maybe 7 or 8, 9 years old, and then now dad is like swooping in wanting to be Disneyland dad, and that's great. Like by all means, like be involved in the kid's life, but recognize who was there all those years while you were away.
Exactly.
We see that a lot, like whenever the child starts becoming a little bit more self-sufficient, like around that 4 or 5 year old age where they take their baby mama to court.
Where it's not hard. I mean, like it's hard, but it's less hard.
Where were you with the overnights? Where were you with the, diaper changes, the I need formula and can you make me a bottle? They weren't there.
Yes.
They're there when he's in soccer practice and cool, I can pick him up from school and he goes to the bathroom by himself. Right, exactly. So that's really hurtful, because then they go and like they take the mom to court to get a court order, but I'm also like, now you're trying to be an equal when you weren't. Like you have to you have to work your way up to that, in my opinion. That show that you're going to be there to some level of consistency.
Absolutely. And I think it's just, and like you said, life isn't fair, but I think it's so unfair that from 1 to maybe 10, right? Like I'm there really putting in the fundamentals, right? Like this is what you need. And then maybe like 12, you're like, oh yeah, he can come live with me and we're going to do things like 100% differently. Like, no, that's not how and that's why, honestly, I get what you mean. And I am 100% on board with the whole, by all means, summer, anything, take him.
Yeah.
But as far as like, oh, he'll live with me permanently and I'll do like this and that, if he wants to, but I'm gonna strongly recommend against it, because I've set out to, this is what I want you to do, this is what I want, this is what type of activities I want you in. I want to instill like discipline in him and all this. So I know it's like a back and forth. It's never like a fun situation ever.
Right.
Lastly, why do you believe, because I know I saw this post, I thought it was hilarious, I'm gonna put it up too, but
oh no.
Why do you believe that baby daddies show their lavish lifestyles off like the social?
Oh my gosh.
You instead of like paying child support, I think you were like, they owe like thousands in child support, but they're flashing all this and that, and like I've experienced that too. Like, why do you think that happens?
I think it's just like not understanding that those things can be used in court. Like you're gonna be.
Can they?
Yeah, like if you post something, he's posting something on social media for the public to see, like here I am popping bottles, flashing money, I just sold this house, I just made this transaction, like I'm using that in court. Like you are putting it out to the public. So when
you say you only have $13 a month to contribute, that's a lie.
You want to put it out for the court of public opinion, I'm going to go put it in the court of law. Like, I mean, that's crazy. No. Damn. Yeah, absolutely. I just think that they don't understand that it can be used. Yeah, so
what is one thing, like one ending note that you would want to tell single moms?
I know that we have the joke slogan, like SUE Your Baby Daddy, but as somebody that has really had to come up from being a broke, struggling single mom to now having a successful law firm, I did not get there with child support money. So I want moms to understand, like, you need to understand, like, this is only going to help you to an extent. Go out there and be something bigger and have your kid see, like, my mom didn't just suffer. She didn't give me this life that, oh, this is all we have to work with. Like, she hustled. She grew a business. She went to school. Like, she did those overnights. Like, I mean, to me, I think that that's going to get you a lot further in life and get your kid a lot further than just getting child support.
Absolutely.
So
yes. So we are going to go into our shame on you segment now. Y'all remember, like, Gianni's an attorney, so we took out some questions. We got the appropriate questions in there. So how you play is you'll pick a question card. If I've done it, and if you've done it, you'll say same. If you haven't, you'll do shame. Normally, and we could just take a sip, but normally if we do, dang.
She said I'm ready.
Okay, never mind. So if you have done it, you take a shot. If you haven't, you're safe, right?
I'm here for fun, so I'll take the shot.
Okay, good. So I'll let you do it first. Pick a question card. I'm gonna get my cards out.
Okay, first question is going to be, I would have a baby by a millionaire to be financially set.
Oh, we talked about this, girl. Would you have a baby by a millionaire to be financially set?
Baby, I am the millionaire. Okay, so I don't need to have a baby with a millionaire.
Okay, like I know it's so unwise to use a baby as a come up. That's disgusting. Don't do that. However, like if somebody was just like, hey, listen, I mean, because fighting for that $19 a month when you could be riding around in a Bentley with a baby bag, okay, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my shot.
Okay.
I'm gonna take my shot. Goodness.
Wait, do we take a shot if it's shame or same?
If it's same.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
She said I would be with a millionaire.
Definitely. Okay.
She went the soft life.
Okay, mine says I've stolen out of a store.
Oh, you know what? No, shame.
No, yeah.
And I would be completely honest with y'all. Like,
Yeah.
I have the biggest like guilt. I can't do it. I grew up Catholic, girl. Like I just,
my God.
it's that Catholic guilt. I can't do it.
I grew up scared of my daddy. Like, period. I be shaking. And if I did, I think one time out of Claire's, I was young. I had sunglasses on my head, walked out. I'm telling you, 3 days straight, I was like, oh shit, they're gonna come pick me up.
They're gonna come pick me up.
They're gonna pick me up. I'm a criminal. So I definitely, I have that too.
Oh my gosh. I don't take a shot, right?
No, you don't. Dang, yeah, like,
Maybe
you're really good at this.
I don't know. I want to get plastic surgery. I already have.
Oh, you have?
So is it?
No, you want to get a little more?
I'm happy with what I got done.
Okay, so I will take away some of my neck if it becomes a problem. Like, you know what I'm saying? I will.
You do not need
I mean,
that,
not now, but like if,
they have
doing
cool
a little
sculpting.
something, then I probably would just, I'll probably do a little nip and a little tuck. I ain't scared of it.
That's funny. People ask me all the time, like, do you want another kid? And I'm like, no, because the lipo recovery was harder than the childbirth recovery. And I know if I have another kid, I'm going to want to get
And then
surgery again.
they say like there's only so many things you can do. Lipo's only going to take so much. You have to get a tummy tuck.
I did that already. Yeah,
I
girl.
cannot with the scar. How is the scarring for you? Was it fine?
You just have to go with somebody that's going to like make it very even. It eventually like goes away.
It'll go away.
Like,
Yeah,
not
some doctors are like
but-
hack jobs. They don't care about the scar. Hell
Girl,
no.
no.
Yeah.
No. I felt like I went with somebody good.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
I will do anything to lose weight, even if it's dangerous. Now, I did tell you I would take away my neck, and I guess that is dangerous. I'm finna get.
Same.
Listen, damn.
Oh my gosh. Okay, last and final.
Ooh.
All right. Taking it like a champ.
Oh my God, that's nasty. That peach okay. All right, so I'm a little dizzy now, hell, because I done lost the damn game.
She's like, now I got to close out the show.
Right. Thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Unmedicated and Educated. Stay unmedicated. Try to get educated. Talk to them people on the couch. And until next time, I will holla. But before we go, Gianni, I got you a little gift. I want you to say, now I want my SUE My Baby-Daddy.
Oh, I'm going to send you a SUE My Baby-Daddy hoodie.
I want it. I can't wait. Y'all are going to see me rocking that for sure.
Oh my gosh. I love this.
It's just a little mood box, to get your mood right. Maybe get your little tumbler.
And I can play with my friends.
You can play with your friends.
I love this. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for empowering women. Thank you for letting single moms know that your life isn't over after, leaving your baby daddy or suing his ass. Okay? So I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.